Back for another edition of the Kaufman Corner podcast with you as always, our buddy David Lesky from Inside the Crown, his great work. Les Norman from Breaking the Norm, of course, former Kansas City Royals outfielder. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We're talking Royals baseball. The offense of the Kansas City Royals, what does it look like? Is it the Brewers, the Jays, the Mariners, the Dodgers? No, not the Dodgers. Which playoff team do we compare this Royals offense to? We'll talk a little bit more about how the Royals offense might improve. The Royals have 3 Gold Glove finalists. What does that mean for the organization? Scott Sharp is a candidate for the Rockies general manager job. Someone's trying to steal away one of the lieutenants. That's got to be a good sign, isn't it? Royals trades. Who is untouchable on the roster? Who would the Royals be willing to part with this offseason if you can't just go buy what you want? Who are they going to trade? We'll talk about it right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. And gentlemen, we have baseball playoffs going on. David, as you look at these teams, is there one that you're like, you know what? That kind of looks like the Royals when it comes to what they do with the bats.
I mean, if you look at the Brewers and the Blue Jays, those two teams, they don't hit a ton of home runs. They don't strike out. They try to push the envelope a little bit. The Brewers more on the bases than the Blue Jays, but offensively, that's the comparison. And I think it's kind of, this changed last night, but I think it's kind of interesting that both those teams were getting throttled up until last night. And it, to me, this is a bigger, just a huge observation. It shows that sort of offense can get shut down pretty quickly. And that's why we saw it with the Royals. I mean, we've seen it last year for stretches, this year for a long stretch where it just doesn't work sometimes. And I think it's interesting that those two teams are so similar. The big difference, there's a huge difference, massive difference. Those two teams walk. And I mean, that's where it is. But if you look at how they're constructed, I mean, look at the Blue Jays lineup. They've got a couple guys who can hit 30 home runs. The Royals have 3 guys who can hit 30 home runs. They've got some guys who make contact. I mean, Bo Bichette being out doesn't help them, but he's that guy. They're similarly constructed. Both their lineups are just deeper and they take more walks, but they're pretty similar to me.
Yeah. How about you, Les? When you look at these playoff teams, do you go, okay, I can see the Royals in this situation. They do things kind of like the Royals, or we, long way to go before we see playoff caliber offense in a Kauffman Stadium.
I would agree. I think that what it points to is that once the playoffs start, though, it really is a whole different ballgame. I mean, the example I'll use, it is on the pitching side, but you look at in the playoffs, Trey Savage for the Blue Jays, who just carved up the Yankees. I mean, it was almost like they had no chance. And then there's a couple close calls that he didn't get, and then had a rough inning in Seattle. So or at home against Seattle. So it's a different mindset. It is a whole different game, and it's just weird how this postseason is playing out. When I read through text that David had said that they're very similar, I was like, you know what? That's absolutely right. It's almost uncanny how similar it is. And so, but instead of being negative, I'll turn that to a positive and say that should show the Royals that if they were just a little bit better, just to get in the playoffs, we'd love it if they were a lot better. But if they could just be a little bit better, if the Brewers are in, if the Blue Jays are in, and they have that kind of offense, then the Royals are good enough to get in the playoffs and compete.
I do love this. They do look like the Dodgers, though, in uniform only. I think I read that, Steven, in the with the pause and the tone with which you meant it. Yeah, that is look. They don't have the kind of firepower that the Dodgers do. And one of the things that kind of concerned me was like when I heard Matt Quatraro talking about, I got to be better at, starting the runners and doing that. I was like, you're treating the symptoms. Like we need to treat the disease. The disease is what David said. You don't get on base enough.
Right.
But I've had some conversations with some folks and they're very aware of the disease. I mean, I actually feel better now after talking to them that they're not just going, well, we just can't get on base guys or we still just want athletic guys and we don't care if they, or we're just about contact. They are very much aware of their need to get on base. And those are the players that they're targeting, be it free agency, be it the draft, that they're looking for those guys. So, in talking to them, because I brought it up, I was like, you talk about, I mean, I get it. Like everybody once a guy's on base, you want to maximize his ability to get home. Yes. I don't fault what you're saying, but you do. Oh, it's absolutely. I mean, number one is on base. And so, you would think that, but just with the history of this organization, where it's been one of the organizations that hadn't valued it, you're like, whoa, are we kind of slipping back to the old days of we're just going to find a guy that can go, well, we don't need to get on base because every guy who gets on base is going to go first to home on a single, that's our plan.
On a sac fly.
yeah, exactly. It's just the old softball tag at second, and get home. But they're aware of it. But the problem is now, David, that so is everybody else in baseball.
Yeah.
And so what 25 years ago was something you could find relatively cheap is now valued and cost. You have to pay for guys that get on base, either pay for it in cash on the free agent market or pay for it in prospects on the trade market.
Yeah. And I mean, look, the other thing too, they haven't just paid lip service to it. Look at who they've acquired. Jonathan India, 350 career on base percentage. Didn't work in 2025, but on base guy. Mark Canha gets on base. Didn't work, but gets on base. Mike Yastrzemski at the trade deadline. That did work. He's a lower average guy, but if you look, we talk about isolated slugging percentage, slugging percentage minus average to show the extra base hits. We don't talk about isolated OBP very much, but like Yastrzemski at 339, that's not elite, but he hit 238 or something for the Royals. So when you've got a 100-point gap, you're doing something right. It'd be nice if he could hit 270 and do that, but they haven't, like I said, they haven't just paid lip service to it. They've actually gone out and gotten those guys. 2 out of the 3 were, I don't want to say disasters, but didn't work. But you look, Carter Jensen's a guy this goes back a few years. They've developed him. He's an on base guy. He will get on base. Mm-hmm. I think that Nick Lofton's a guy. It hasn't worked, but he's a guy who works a walk and all that. So I do think that they've done more than just say they need it. They just haven't gotten it to work yet. I'm with you, feeling better that I knew they understood it. They really understand it. They know they all know.
They all know. The question is like, do they create the lie to tell themselves to explain away why they don't have it?
Sure. Maybe.
And they're not. That was my fear. Are they like just throwing up your hands, going, well, we can't get those guys, so here's how we're going to make up for it. And they're not. That is.
I think they previously were. Now I don't think they are.
I think they're dating more. They resisted, didn't want to buy fully into it, and they're fully. They will admit it's a problem, right? They're aware of it. But I went over some of the numbers, and it is kind of eerie. This year was just a little bit of the baseball gods. Their hard hit rate almost the same. Like you go to like a bunch of their BABIP was down. Like they put balls in play at the same rate. They hit them hard at basically the same rate. They just hit them at people more. Now, I think part of that is they probably got a big kiss last year. They got a little bit of a frown this year. Somewhere in between the 2 years probably lies reality. And that's just baseball, right? Like I guess we should expect them to get a little bit better luck next year, right? I don't think that's how you prepare for next season is same guys, we'll just be luckier. Like, I don't think that's what they're going to do, but part of this was just baseball, right?
I do think so. And the theory is right. The problem is, again, that, and this goes back for me for hitting coaching and hitting theory and plans at the plate, where, yes, we saw a lot of hard hit balls that were right at people. And hey, it is just how baseball works. Usually you have the one guy that's unlucky. But with the Royals, it seemed like there were 3 or 4 guys that would do it and were unlucky. And that is obviously going to have a little bit of effect on on-base percentage. But again, it also depends on what pitches are you swinging at too. Because if it's a pitch, say right down the middle and I hit it hard, obviously there's a better chance that it's going to fall in. But I feel like oftentimes if there's nobody on base, I want to go back and look up, okay, what was the count and what runners were on base when a lot of these guys hit the ball hard and just had some bad luck. You can actually have a whole team that goes through this weird stretch where, man, guys are crushing it and you just can't find a hole. It's just that's just a weird baseball thing. But then again, what is that hard hit rate? And David, I don't know if you've looked this up or not, but what is that hard hit rate when there's a runner on third with nobody out? Or one out? What is the hard hit rate with a runner on second and nobody out? And is a guy trying to hit the ball to the right side? Whereas some guys will take an inside fastball and hammer it and line out to short with a runner on second base and nobody out. Well, good. I'm glad you hit the ball hard, but now you didn't move the runner over. And with a team that doesn't score a ton of runs, naturally, that doesn't help. It's great. You hit the ball hard. Way to go. It's not a successful at bat. So for me, it's a matter of the approach. What pitches you're going to swing at in what counts. And I feel like maybe then you're still going to have bad luck is bad luck, but I feel like you're still going to be able to have that number go in your favor if your pitch selection is better and you're a better situational hitting team.
David, how they were so much better in the second half, right? Or after the All-Star break, which is more like a third, with as late as the All-Star break is now. I mean, is that something you built? I mean, can that be built on, or is that just like, yeah, they really got frowned on early and they got kind of smiled on late? We've talked about Yastrzemski was the guy that seemed to coincide with getting him. So is it just a matter of like, one, they either bringing him back or getting somebody like him and elongating the lineup? Like that the big boys struggled early because nobody at the bottom was getting on and maybe they were trying to do too much. And then once they got going, they were still missing a little more depth in the lineup. And so reality is Nick Lofton either needs to turn a corner or they need 2 more guys to get on base. And then this lineup, that's what made this lineup click.
I mean, you need the bottom of the roster needs to be better. I mean, it's the simplest way to improve a team. And it's not improving the bottom of the roster doesn't get you to 97, 98 wins, but it gets you from 82 to 86, 87. The bottom of the roster last year was better. I've said this, I don't know how many times, probably too many, but MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfroe in the corner outfield were below average offensively. People talk about them like they were unmitigated disasters in 24. They weren't. They were just bad, not horrible, just not good. And that made the lineup better because those guys lengthened the lineup. Mike Yastrzemski lengthened the lineup. In September, Carter Jensen lengthened the lineup. They improved. They had fewer outs, fewer automatic outs. I mean, you got to, I don't remember when it was, but I distinctly remember a game in June when they lost so many games at home. I think they were 1-12, right? That it was the bottom. They were down by 1 or 2, and it was the bottom of the 9th. And I think, like I said, I distinctly remember. I clearly don't remember everything, but I think they got past Vinny maybe. And I go, well, the game's over. If he doesn't do it, the game is over because I think he was hitting 4th that night. Nobody else is going to. I mean, it's just, it was impossible. And then you get to September, August more than September, I feel like. But you get to August and that situation happens. And you're like, oh, okay. They still have a chance. Salvi's hitting now. whoever it might be, it doesn't matter. Yastrzemski might get it done, or for a stretch, India might get it done. And they just need the bottom back half of the roster needs to be better.
What happens if India just is the guy they thought he was going to be? If they put him at second base and he's got a 350 on base, and they bring Yastrzemski back, I think the sticking point is going to be that he wants multiple years. That's what I'm hearing. And the question is, do you give a guy at his age multiple years? And I think on the market, he's probably going to command. I'm thinking 2 for 20 is what it's going to take. And is he worth that to this organization, or do they have other? Can they find these pieces elsewhere without putting that kind of money in? Can they trade some of the depth of pitching, which we'll get to a little bit later on? But is it as simple as if Jonathan India will just be the guy they wanted him to be, or the guy he was the year before in Cincinnati, and Yastrzemski's back, is it all solved? Do we take some of they ranked third in this and fifth in this and seventh in this and third in this in that stretch after the All-Star break? If they just bring those pieces back, and a guy who's a 345 career on base guy doesn't go 345, 345, 345, right? And so India had a down year. He has a positive year the next season. Is this lineup actually good enough? Are we not putting enough weight into what they did after the All-Star break?
I think the lineup could be. I'll start with this. If they do that, what you're saying, and they give him that other shot and bring Yastrzemski back, which I think they should, and India does not do well. Again, being the Cub fan in me and loving this guy, at the end of 26, Nico Hoerner's a free agent. I just want to throw that out there, for the Cubs. Nico Hoerner's a great guy that could come in and play second base. But he's not a free agent yet. But they could. I'm trying to find in my mind, as I've watched Jonathan India the whole year, in his approach and how he hit. Is it more approach, or did he peak already? He's not an old guy, but he's not a young guy. He's got enough in there. And when I heard you say, can he command with a good year, a 2-year, $20 million? I don't look at Jonathan India as that guy. I mean, he would really have to have a good year for him.
I'm talking about Yastrzemski. That's what
okay.
That's right. I think going to be the going rate for Yastrzemski out there.
Right. So, and again, I think I had mentioned this when we got Yastrzemski. Sometimes that change of venue can help a little bit in the way the team is. The Giants are really on the downside right now as a big market team. And so when he came over, he was probably happy. San Francisco is a great place to play. That's great. But I feel like he was more of a fit here than he was in San Francisco. So that would be great. But is India, though? I mean, I know we don't know yet, but they're hanging on to Massey. India's not a good second baseman. Even if he hits a little bit better, is that the trade? Not the actual trade, but do we want to make that putting India back at second base? And we're gonna trade his offense for a subpar second baseman, and then we're gonna play the Massey experiment for another year, playing him out in left field. Which, okay, he's a decent outfielder, but he's not an outfielder. He's just not an outfielder. So there are repercussions possibly for trusting that he had a down year. We think he's going to have another good year. He's under contract. For me, I wouldn't risk it. I'm not a big India fan, not personally. I'm talking, but offensively, I don't think it was just a fluke. I think he's on the downside of his career based on what I watched this year. So,
okay, I think the ballpark got to him. I think I've talked to a number of people that kind of feel like it's like, okay, he did go from one extreme to the other, right? From like bandbox to can't get it out of the yard, and I wonder if that everyone likes to hit a home run every now and then, even though he's not a home run hitter. And there is a kind of a thought process that was part of the issue as well. David, I know you were going to say something.
Well, yeah, but I get that to some extent, and that's I understand. I do understand it. Kaufman's a better place to hit than Cincinnati for a guy like India. I think.
Yeah,
Cincinnati is a better place to hit the ball over the wall, but the way India should hit, he should be able to find grass. I mean, and I get it. It's a mental thing, and everybody's they're human beings, and so when you're used to being able to stand on your tiptoes and touch the wall from home plate, and you all of a sudden can't even see it from home plate, I get it. I understand why he felt that way. He might feel that way, but he really needs to embrace the fact that Kauffman Stadium should be a great park for him. When they got him, I looked at his batted ball data, and I'm going, "Oh, this guy's going to hit 45 doubles." And then he hit, I can't remember what's the number, how many doubles he hit. He actually did have a lot of doubles. 29. I thought he had more than that. Anyway, I guess I was wrong. But I thought he could really just load up on the doubles. He can run a little bit, a few triples. Just didn't happen. But I mean, this getting into an India conversation, which we know how I feel. But
He played. I mean, he played 136 games, and he still, like you said, 29 doubles, and he had 9 homers.
yeah,
I mean, he didn't have 2. It wasn't like the ball never left you. I'd have to look at how many
Which-
were home or away, but you do
He
get half
only had-
games on the road.
well,
Like I think I would just finish my statement on this. Sorry to interrupt you, David, by saying this. I get it if they walk. To Les's point, I think everything Les says, if they're like, we're not putting this money out there, we're not offering him an arbitration, I would get it. But if they stay the course, when you look at his career, none of the other guys we would talk about playing second base have the kind of seasons that he has put up. And so there is, if they do keep him, I get that too. I get why they're doing it. It'll just be interesting to see the pieces they put around him to make it work, to Les's point. I mean, I think the fallback is just running it back with India at second base and Massey in left field. I don't think that's plan A. But if you go after guys in trades, because they've tried to trade for guys. I mean, they tried to trade for the Red Sox outfielders. I think they've tried to trade for Turner Ward. We've talked about it a number of times, David, over the last couple of years. I think they've tried to do those things, but the cost has always been not worth what they thought they were going to be getting back. And so, I had somebody tell me that when they were talking to Boston, the name Boston kept bringing up was Cole Reagans. Mm-hmm. Like, no. We're not giving you Cole Reagans. And so we can want them to go get better in a spot, but the trades always take somebody on the other side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
yeah.
Reagans, I mean, this is getting into that conversation, but they don't have an outfielder that is worth Cole Reagans, in my opinion. Well, they do. It's Roman Anthony, who they're not trading for Cole Reagans. So, and that to your point, that there is, it requires both sides in both trades and free agency to make a deal. So I was just going to say on India, he had 9, you're right. He had 9 home runs. He only had 15 in Cincinnati in 24. So, it
wasn't that bad. So
I struggle with
right
that
mindset,
excuse.
kid, and shoot for 50 doubles if you want. If you want to have a big impactful year, shoot for 50 doubles. I think it's pretty easy. All right, the Royals have some Gold Glove finals. We'll talk about that after you hear from our friends at Greenlight.
Greenlight Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Greenlight difference. Visit us today.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, let's talk about the Gold Glove finalists, David. Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Garcia, Kyle Isbell, all deserving of this nomination. How deserving are they of winning the award?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to be clear. They're finalists because they finished top 3 in voting. The voting's done. there's no new vote coming.
Yeah,
up,
right,
I think
right.
The way they worded it is so silly. But I think Witt and Garcia 100% deserve it. Witt, 4th in defensive run saved. He's actually behind Zach Neto, Jeremy Pena, and Corey Seager, amazingly enough. Outs above average, he's first. He has 25. The second has 17. Or second has 8. Sorry, he's 17 above second, which that's among shortstops who played 750 or more innings. I think there's a good chance he wins the Platinum Glove, honestly, which is cool. Garcia,
and that is for the best defensive player at any position, right?
Period. Yeah. All around. I mean, the 25 outs above average is most in baseball. Actually, it might. Brian Hayes might have more. I can't remember, but either way, he's in the National League. So, and then Maikel Garcia, he's first in defensive runs saved and first in outs above average. I know it's not purely a statistical award, but duh.
Yeah.
and Isbell is one of the 3 best defenders in center field. Ceddanne Rafaela is going to win it though, and he should. Rafaela is like Garcia. He's first in both the stats. But Isbell, very quietly, I think we talk about it a lot, but I don't think people realize just how elite he is by the numbers. 4th in defensive runs saved, 2nd in outs above average this year in the American League. So he's a really, really good center fielder. So I think they're going to get 2 winners. I guess, did they have 2 last year? It was Lugo and Witt. So yeah, same as last year, just different. The partner for Witt will just be different.
Yeah. Do you look at those guys and say, Gold Glovers, or do you agree with Les? 2 out of 3. Where do you think, Les?
Yeah, I think it's 2 out of 3. I will say I agree with everything David said. I will say that the only thing I'm really going to add to that is that as I watch him play and being an outfielder, that I think Kyle Isbell is a great center fielder. I don't think he's just a good center fielder. I mean, I watched the jumps. I watched the way he stays on his toes, his body language as he catches balls, the way he gets around him, the way he finds the spot, the way he works the wall, the way he throws to bases, just all aspects of the game. I mean, and sometimes they're major league outfielders, and so it's hard to find cracks in a lot of those guys because they're just really good at what they do. But Kyle Isbell, as I watch the little intricacies of what he does, is one of the best. Numbers-wise, he's probably not going to win. But just to be up there and honored, I'm happy for him because that's going to continue to help his career because he probably only has a few years left before he gets a situation where there's not a lot of teams that are going to, once he gets into those mid-30s, he's probably going to be done because those young center fielders keep coming up and guys that have great years come up. But I'm glad that this is happening now for him. Plus, he hit pretty decent for a 9-hole hitter. He's established himself as a good 9-hole hitter, but he's also established himself as a great defensive center fielder. So happy for him. Probably won't win, but it's going to be something to just be in the top 3 that's going to extend his career a little bit.
Yeah, I think, a couple things. One, Bobby Witt Jr. In this award reminds us that he did not have the insane offensive season that he had the year before. He just had a really, really good offensive season for a shortstop, right? But then when you realize what he's bringing defensively, I think it's, you understand why this is one of the best players in baseball. And because he's every single time he's out there, he is adding to the team. He is making the team better. And I think it's interesting to go back. Let's rewind back to what his breakout year, which would have been 23. As we came into 23, I think that's right. Or was it 22? Now the years are
it was 23.
23.
Because he was a rookie in 22 and then came in 23, broke out.
Yeah, he was a rookie in 22 and kind of played all over, right? But they had him at third and then short because they were still farting around with the Adalberto Mondesi thing. In 23, they came into the year with the statement they're going to play him every day at short because we're going to find out about him. We're going to find out if he's a shortstop. Like I spent a lot of times talking with Randy about, both of us pondering, do you move him to center field? Both of us losing our mind that Adalberto Mondesi. I mean, I could not. And I used to get, and I understand it, I used to get people bitching at me on Twitter and sending me emails about why I was, griping, why I was talking about moving Bobby Witt to center field. And I said, well, I've seen Adalberto Mondesi play for a while now, and they're not willing to move him off shortstop for this guy. So he must not be that good. So if he can't move this guy off, then send him. You have a center field problem, send him to center field. Well, as I look back, if I'm the Royals right now, one of the things I want to do is I want to know who are the people that were watching Bobby Witt Jr. along the way. And it might be that this has already been fixed. It was called Dayton Moore, and that's it. And Dayton Moore was the only. completely open to the fact. And Dayton Moore is a good man and a good baseball man, but I think he was certainly the guy that stood watching an organization that said, Adalberto Mondesi is our shortstop, and we're going to take the number 2 pick in baseball, and we're going to play him in other places. And now as we play forward, Adalberto Mondesi continued to be a guy who I don't know what, it just wasn't that important to get out on the baseball field. And Bobby Witt Jr. is the best shortstop in baseball. Like, you have to go back, and if there are guys in the room that were like, Adalberto's our guy, they have to be muted when you have conversations about your middle infielders. Like, I do think how this is played out, like, your job as a scout is to predict the future. It's really hard. And the scouts are really good at it. But the fact that this guy had to fart around at second base and third base, and now we're talking about him being a platinum glove winner, I think the organization needs to remember that and take note. If anyone's still around, that was part of we're not putting him at short. He should have been given short the first time when he was even the year he was in spring training with the big league club, and they knew they weren't going to bring him up. He still should have been playing shortstop there, and everybody else moving around to start figuring out where they're going to play. So shortstop was opened up for him. That's what being up for this award and platinum says to me.
It's crazy. You're right. What I will say, not to defend them, Witt was legitimately bad at shortstop in 2022. He played, and so I want my question. And this is not to say, the Royals don't get any blame, because I think they do. How much of this is Bobby Witt said, I'm incredible. I am the most talented player in baseball among them, if not the most talented. I'm going to fix this. And then he just fixed it because he's better at doing anything than I am. So I wonder a little bit, and you look at and defensive numbers are what they are, but like defensive runs saved at shortstop in 825 innings in 22, because thankfully Adalberto Mondesi couldn't stay on the field, and so they had no choice. He was minus 18. That is absurdly bad. Just awful. Minus 9 and outs above average. The next 3 years and outs above average, 13, 15, 25. Defensive runs saved aren't quite as -5 and 23, 2, and then 5. So that I don't know enough about the defensive metrics to know why they're so different. But I think Bobby Witt needs, as we can criticize the Royals, and I think that's important to look back on, not important to criticize, but important to look back. But I also think it's important to credit Bobby Witt for the incredible turnaround, because he was not just like, he's not a great shortstop. No, he was a bad shortstop. He was a center fielder playing shortstop or a third baseman, and he fixed it and is incredible now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And Les, to your point about Kyle Isbell, I would add that this should set them on their course of how to build the team. He's our center fielder, and he's going to be what he's going to be offensively. He's 650, right? Maybe he can get to 700, but the idea that Kyle Isbell is going to become an 800 OPS guy, stop with that. He's a great center fielder. This means that one of the options is not maybe Kyle Isbell will hit better, maybe Kyle Isbell will get on base more. No, Kyle Isbell is Kyle Isbell, and we need him in center field because of the glove. So get me better on the corners, right? It takes, to me, the idea of, him. Now we'll talk about the trades in a minute, but it sets you on your course of what you need to do, because we don't need to mess with Kyle Isbell. We need to improve in the corners.
Yeah, I remember coming up in the minor leagues with the Royals, and we didn't sit and necessarily watch video of the big league guys, but they would encourage us to come watch the games. And so we would come over and we would watch. And of course, I'm always watching how they hit. I'm watching the outfielders and what they do. And, if the Royals are really wanting to build, like you're talking about, a team of a center fielder like that, a shortstop like that, they should really encourage their minor league system to watch and model how Kyle Isbell became such a good outfielder. And yes, Bobby Witt Jr. busted it because he was not a very good shortstop at all. I don't think it was more than, well, I'm going to show you. I think it was him, especially with his dad understanding the game and his pedigree. Look, I want to play shortstop, so I really need to be a better big league shortstop. This isn't high school anymore. I need to be able to figure this out at this level. And the work ethic it takes to go from that to what he is now, to potentially win a platinum glove in the big leagues. I mean, are you kidding me? Especially at shortstop, that's unbelievable. And so, you said earlier about the guys that maybe if they really liked Mondesi and if they're still around, I'm thinking maybe they are around, but yeah, that's a tough credibility position because I've seen other organizations in the past even have their shortstop of the future in the big leagues, struggling in the big leagues, and then just got better trial by fire. And so, I would tend to maybe be a little bit less apt to listen to those guys than some of them.
Exactly. Scott Sharp said to be one of the finalists for the Rockies. First of all, David, I would not wish working for the Rockies on anybody, but there are only 30 GM jobs out there, 29 that you could potentially be a candidate for because the Royals is filled. But it is validation for what the Royals are doing. Another organization is going, how do we do what they're doing?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I think that when you have success, you've got to figure out how to develop new leaders because they're going to get poached. And you say, you wouldn't wish the Rockies job. I agree, but also, can you imagine being the guy who builds a winner, a consistent winner in Colorado? You're going to the Hall of Fame. Truly, I'm not exaggerating. Like if you get 6 straight good years in Colorado, if you make the playoffs 4 out of 6 years, a World Series, whatever, you might be a Hall of Fame general manager in that situation. So it's not a great job, but it's a huge opportunity. But I think that you look when you start to win, you lose people, and the Royals. JJ Piccolo interviewed quite a bit, didn't get the job, so take that for what it's worth. But he interviewed quite a bit in the mid 2010s. I would not be surprised. I think there's a pretty good chance that Zach Bove is some team's pitching coach next year, not with the Royals. I think there's a good chance Mitch Stetter gets a job. I don't know if it's a good chance, but there's a chance Mitch Stetter is somewhere else because the other teams say, well, whatever we have to get the Royals pitching sauce.
Yeah.
It's a cool spot to be in, but you got to find the next guy now, which makes it tough.
Although the Rockies ownership, I'm good luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, Les, it is. It's a feather in the cap of the Royals that people want because let's be honest. And we kind of saw it like, okay, I get it now. When JJ wasn't getting jobs, he was really the only guy, and nobody else from the Royals organization during their winning was getting poached away. And I think it's because the rest of baseball looked at it and said, that's not a sustainable model.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking for that. We're looking for more the numbers guys, and you're not doing it the way the industry was saying that. The Royals did swim upstream, and some of the things like going heavy on the bullpen, they kind of taught some lessons to the rest of the league, to the rest of baseball. But I think this kind of comes back to John Sherman's, I want to see what a wild card looks like. Like, in other words, like, it's not that hard to get to the playoffs, or at least not as hard as we have made it look. By going for these championship players, all the time, we're missing out on the guys that can get us into the postseason. I think now it is a statement that the rest of the industry goes, those guys are doing it right.
Absolutely. If I'm Scott Sharp, I absolutely unequivocally am not afraid and want that job in Colorado. And I don't care if next year they win 25 games, which I doubt that'll happen. But given time to be able, it'll be painful in the moment. But over time, the beautiful thing about it is that, yes, you don't want to be the guy that you want the job, you get the job, and then nothing changes in 5 years and you're looked at as a failure. You couldn't turn it around. By that time, maybe it's more of an ownership issue than it is an on-field personnel or the way they run things issue. But it's not like if you take that GM job in Colorado and it doesn't work out, all of a sudden you're out of baseball and you'll never work again. We know how baseball works. There have been guys in the Royals organizations who have been on some really bad teams, and we talk about their names every now and then. Oh, back in the day when this guy was the GM or this guy was the coach, they're working somewhere else. We just don't hear from most of them or about most of them. So I would really love and want this job because you're already in a sustainable model here that is starting to work. You're on the cusp, which is a really good place to be. If you're somebody looking for a job, you're in an organization like that. So I hope he gets it. I would love to get it, and I think he'd be successful there. That'd be a great turnaround.
Yeah, I will say that the one good thing about taking the Rockies job is there is no immediate expectation.
Yeah,
right. Like nobody thinks you're gonna. Well, then we should
get 3 years minimum.
Yeah, you get to put in place whatever you want and try to let it grow. without people going, where are the wins? Where are the wins? And so
another thing, Soren, if I can add to that
yeah.
too, the beauty of that too is if you get to that job, you get to go in and throw your weight around because you've got such a horrible win-loss record behind you that nobody can conceivably say anything against you. If you speak up, you're out. Look, they've got this history the last couple of years of being incredibly bad. So you really get to go in and put your mark on everything to make change. And that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, we want to talk about who the Royals are going to trade. We'll do it after we hear from our friends at Italian Delight, where everything's made from scratch, and they've got lunch specials starting at under $10. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
Trade market. If they cannot get everything they need, what they want in free agency, then they're going to have to turn to trades. And I mentioned that, Boston mentioned Cole Reagans when the Royals were talking about their outfielders. Who could be, who's untouchable? Let's do that first. Who are you not trading? Now, I hate the term, just like for those that play fantasy baseball, fantasy football and whatnot, and you call your buddy, he's like, well, so-and-so's untouchable. Like, no one's ever untouchable for me. So let me state that like, if I were JJ Cole and someone said, I'm interested in Bobby Witt Jr., I'd say, well, I think you there's probably no way you can get him, because what I would ask for would devastate your organization to the point that you'd be a fool to do it, but take a shot, and I would listen. So I don't think, especially if you're going to follow the math, if somebody came to you and said, we're going to give you, the Red Sox, we're going to give you Roman Anthony, Abreu, and Duran, plus, this great shortstop prospect and this good arm. Okay, I've got to take a look at that. All right, I'll move Michael Garcia to short. Massey goes to third, and now I've got an entire new outfield. Kyle Isbell becomes my 4th outfielder. Okay, you know what? I'll do it, right? So, like, no one would do that. But you listen. But for realistic untouchables, what do you got, David, that you're not letting somebody have, or that the price is so much that they would never pay it?
That I'm not letting is a little different than the Royals, I think. But
okay, give me the difference.
Well, so maybe it's not that different. I mean, I would trade, for example, Seth Lugo. They're not going to. They can't at this point. Like, I think part of it too is who's untouchable and who just can't be traded. Right, like Seth Lugo, you can't move that. It was terrible for the second half, missed the last month. I suppose maybe you could trade it, but not for anything that's worthwhile. So it's the same. You could
trade him, but you'd be trading low.
Yes, yeah. Well, and it'd be so low, I think, that it's just whatever. But with Garcia, I don't think you're trading Garcia right now. To me, he's the guy who's like, look, you give me the right offer, I'll listen, and it could happen. I don't think they'll be able to get that. I don't think they'd trade Vinny right now with what he means to the team. Should they? Maybe. He's more in the middle for me. I get why they don't, but I don't think they do. I don't think they move Reagans. and Carter Jensen. I think those are the guys. I was thinking about this. We talked about it last night. Or maybe it's more. I can't remember. And I was looking at it. I'm going, I could see them trading literally anybody else on this roster. And they should be willing to trade literally anybody else on this roster. Again, right deal. You can't just say, well, they have to trade this guy. Okay, well, if the deal's not there, the deal's not there. But I don't see anybody else who should be untouchable.
How about you, Les?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to keep saying, yeah, David's right. You should have me around more, David, because my list is almost the same. Right now, I think I would add like Jack to that list because he's so young and he hasn't really proven himself. But would anybody want him yet? Because he hasn't really done anything and hasn't established himself yet. I think Ursig is another guy that maybe Ursig or Estevez maybe is. I kind of have question marks on the list that yes, I would trade him, but right now I don't think they will. So maybe that doesn't qualify as what you're asking for. But I'm the same with Witt Jr., Vinny, exact same idea with Lugo. You could, but you're not going to get anything from him, and you just signed him. Reagans, I would hang on to him right now. The interesting thing, I had originally wrote down Bubic just real fast. But then as I'm watching the playoffs, like when Shane Bieber came off Tommy John, they traded him based on how good he was doing in his rehab assignments. And so then as I listened to that story play, I'm like, oh, you know what? He is tradable. Somebody would want him. And if we would get somebody for him, and he's done good enough prior to them shutting him down that, and the injury with the Tommy John that, if he proved healthy, and we got something for him that was worth it, then yeah, he is tradable. So yeah, I am almost exactly the same on my side of that list.
Yeah, I think the list, I think it pops out, pretty easily on where you are on things. And I think the one thing that could happen is like, I do think that there's going to be a conversation about Maikel Garcia being extended. And I think they're going to have to figure out what number he's asking for. And I think the number is going to be high. And I would be cautious because we've seen, he is a lot on his athleticism, and athleticism can fall off. Like, I don't like giving big dollar long-term contracts to guys that don't consistently hit the ball over the wall because you keep your power, but you lose your speed. You lose your stolen bases. And like, I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to steal less and less and less. I think the question is, can he steal better? Can he steal when they got to have it? But I think he should steal less. I think he should be putting less grind on his body. I think what he does defensively is too important for him to be banging up his hands and his knees and everything, sliding head first into second base all the time. Hey, we're down one run. You're on first base. There's one out. I need you at second. Go. Right? But like first inning, there's two outs, and you think you got an opportunity. I mean, I think all those things will be there. But I think with Maikel Garcia, they got to figure out what that number is, and they got to figure out if they want to sign him. And, I love the defense, but defense usually falls off too. Defense is a young man's game. The Gold Glove used to be you'd win it when you're young because you earned it, and then by reputation, you always got it. Well, now there's all these metrics, and the metrics say when you start getting towards 30, down goes your defensive numbers. So if you're going to pay for defense, you better not be paying for it for 7 years because he ain't going to be the same player 7 years from now defensively. So I think from that standpoint, if I think I can get Maikel Garcia done for the price we want to do, then I'm not trading him. But if he's asking for a number that's beyond what I could get, then I will listen to Maikel Garcia because I've got Bobby Witt Jr. And we need to be able to, we need to be able to find a third baseman elsewhere. So for me, it's Bobby Witt Jr. It's Cole Reagans just because I think if they're going to win a World Series, Cole Reagans is going to shove and win 1-0 in a game where he goes 7 innings and strikes out 14. And then they polish it off. So I think he's just, I can't imagine what somebody would offer. I don't think anybody with his injury history would offer what it would take to get him from me. So he's untouchable. I agree with Carter Jensen. I mean, I think the plate discipline, we got just a little peak, but he looks like he's going to be a difference maker. And they seem like they're committed that he stays behind the dish.
Definitely.
I think Vinny, because of what he means in the clubhouse, I think Vinny is there as well. But literally everybody else, I'm willing to listen. I mean, I think the guys that they will push, I know Chris Bubic was talked about at the deadline, and then it was being talked about before the deadline, and then he got hurt. And so to your point, Les, I think you make a great point. I think in trading Bubic, it's probably spring training when he gets back up on the hill and somebody sees him in a spring game, they're like, okay, there he is at 93, and look at that break, and let's go get him. Like, I think Chris Bubic could be the guy because you only have 1 year control. And so, are you now going to offer him 5 or 6 years? The answer is no. And once he starts the season, is he going to put want to do a deal? If he wants to do a deal, it's because he's sucking. If he's pitching good, he's not going to want to do a deal. If he gets hurt, then he's going to want a deal, and you're not going to want to sign him. So I don't see any scenario that has him signed to the Royals at the end of this next year. So to me, I love what Chris Bubic has become, but if you can flip him, you got to flip him. I mean, they keep talking about controllable years. You got to flip him, right? Like, I mean, I think Bubic might be. I think it's like such a tightrope because he's got to prove he's ready to go. But if he does, then you got to move him, and you got to move him right away.
Yes.
You got to have some deals built now where everyone's going, well, I'm not going to trade him to you as a hurt guy. I'm going to trade him to you as a healthy guy. Like, I talked to some folks, and they're like, we were really cautious with him. I think he maybe could have come back and got some innings, and maybe they'll regret that they didn't because maybe that would have been enough to get him traded. But if what it takes is like we got to get some spring training innings out of him and then we can move him, they need to be ready. Like we may not be talking about what they've done for the offseason. Like when we talk about what a great offseason they had in between 25 and 26, David, it might be that like the biggest piece didn't happen until they got to spring training.
Right. I mean, when Dylan Cease traded, like the day before the season, a couple years ago,
yeah.
I could, and it was a different scenario, but I could see that one guy. Les, you brought up Jack Caglione. I don't know how real this is, but I have heard that the Royals would be willing to move him and it's not for like nothing. It's a legit middle of the order bat that like a star. The name that I heard, and it's funny because I joked about this name with people and then gotten in my head so much that I want him. The name that they said, hey, if the Padres said we'll give you Tatis they'd trade Caglione and Mitchell. And maybe they would. I don't know. I don't know if the Padres would do that. He's a lot of money, and it's not the same ownership now. But not so again. Not that they would just move, and they're not going to trade Jack Caglione for Victor Robles. But
right.
if it's a star, I have heard they'd be willing to do that. So you're trading him like a top 10 prospect, basically, even though he did not show that out.
That's interesting because I'm looking up because I've been from fantasy baseball, having him in my minor leagues and stuff. I've always been a guy. So he'll be 27 when the season starts. So you are getting prime years. He turns 27 just after the first of the year, January 2nd. So you are getting 27, 28, 29, but you are taking on a lot of money. I wonder would the Padres
a lot of money
in that scenario. If that was out there, Les, would you be down for that?
Yeah. Absolutely, I would. Will it happen? Probably not. But it's not impossible. I still seeing how Jack struggled, got hurt, came back. Was it better with his pitch selection? Sure. There's still a lot of length in his swing. There's still a lot of movement, and he just looks like he's nervous in the face every time he comes up there, like he's trying not to strike out. And so I think because I didn't see improvement in that, is he going to end up being the superstar? I mean, I want to give him every chance to do it because he's super young and he came to the big leagues really fast. I just feel like even in 1 year, the steady progression, even a slower steady progression, wasn't there like I thought. So I'm wondering, is he going to be 27 before he figures it out? And, is he? And that's 4.5 years from now. So yeah, I think it's absolutely possible, just probably not likely.
Yeah,
there's for what it's worth.
Yeah,
sorry, real quick on Tatis, it's not going to happen. It was kind of a joking conversation, but that's the type of player. But also, $36 million a year from 29 to 36. When he's 31 to 40 or 38 or whatever it is, yeah.
From 29 to 36.
From 2029 to 2036, not age. How old is he now? He's 27, you said? Or he'll
be 27 coming into the 26 season.
Yeah, so that's 30 to 37 and making whatever 36 times 7 is.
I don't think. Yeah, I think that's the reason the deal didn't happen. You know?
That's also the reason why they might want to trade him.
But I mean, like, and maybe it doesn't take Jack Caglione. maybe you can get him and maybe they eat some of the money. And maybe if they'll eat some money now on the back end, you're like, okay, we'll be willing to live with it. He is an athletic guy. I mean, so he should age better than, say Vinny's going to age. Right. But yeah, the Padres, I hear all the time out of San Diego, just how cheap the brother is that took over the team and he's looking to turn profits more than he is win a World Series. So maybe Tatis will be out there. Maybe he'll be wanting to get that money off the books, and maybe you could get some value there. Listen, if you believe that Brian Bridges and your development team are going to be pumping young players in there and having one contract, I mean, I think you got to believe in the guy and the character you're going to put in your clubhouse. You can't be paying $36 million for a guy who's a pain in the ass. If you're paying $36 million, like they love Adam Frazier. Let's say if Fernando Tatis is Adam Frazier in the clubhouse, then you can pay $36 million for him to be an old, wise guy, because they seem to all follow around Adam Frazier. He seems to be we needed him in our clubhouse. Okay, it'd be great if he's Fernando Tatis and you're bringing in a guy and late in his career he's still 29 home runs, but he's not running and all that, but he's the wise sage in the clubhouse. Okay, you could do something like that. But I do think trade's gonna be part of it. I think Noah Cameron. I mean, I think you'd be trading high on Noah Cameron. I love his story. I think it's great. And I think it'll be great if he pitches for 20 years in the Royals organization and wins 250 games. I would love to see that. But if we're talking about what could bring a lot back, all that control on a guy who probably, he might have had his career year this year based upon some of the metrics, although he was pumping up there around 94. I mean, he's not the soft tosser that he was kind of portrayed as.
He gets whiffs on his breaking balls too. Like he's not a guy who doesn't get swing and miss. He doesn't get on his fastball.
Yeah.
But he's deceptive too.
But I do think that Royals fans need to be ready for guys that are in their prime to be traded. Like this is not just going to be, well, let me mop up the 23rd, 24th, 25th guy on the roster, put that together, and we're going to offer that package. You're going to have to give up somebody good. I think Blake Mitchell is clearly going to be shopped. Like I think Carter Jensen has grabbed his spot. So Blake Mitchell will clearly be shopped. And that's another guy. We mentioned Bubich. That's another guy with the hamate bone injury, which everyone knows robs you of power, which it did for him. He's playing in Arizona, so hopefully we're going to start seeing that power come back. You're kind of trading low on him as well, selling low on him. So I don't know. That's the perfect trade time for the Royals right now, unfortunately, for some of the guys that you'd say, okay, moving Bubich because you only have 1 year of control, good idea. But he's not, you're selling low. Moving Blake Mitchell, good idea, but you're selling low. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see for sure. Listen, you can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors like Greenlight Dispensary. 15 locations in Missouri. More on the way. Greenlight, your go-to for all your cannabis needs. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Go see our friends at Frontier Justice. You might see less there with locations in Lee Summit, KCK, Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, strong sense of community. Go to frontier-justice.com. And our friends at Italian Delight. You see Renee in the chat room. He is a regular here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Strombolis, calzones. Of course, their New York-style pizza. They were the first to bring it to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Lunch specials each day starting at under $10. They're just a few minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave. Order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For David Lesky, for Les Norman, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.